Industry sources say Star Media Group is undertaking another round of cost-cutting that will involve a job rationalisation exercise. A source said letters on the cost-cutting exercise involving job rationalisation were issued to senior management members yesterday, and there are plans for another round of job cuts later this month for journalists. Another source said over 100 staff could be affected. This is the third cost-cutting exercise involving job cuts since 2017. Star Media has yet to respond when contacted on this matter. The group reported a net loss of 3.98 million ringgit in the first quarter of FY20 versus a net profit of 3.54 million a year earlier. Revenue fell to 65.76 million ringgit from 82.57 million ringgit. Earlier this month, CGS CIMB Securities noted that it was a foregone conclusion that Star Media would slip into a net loss in the first quarter of FY20. It added in its June 1st report that Star Media was only able to stay profitable in the past few quarters thanks to its other operating income, comprising mostly investment income. Global media companies have been operating in a challenging landscape, now made worse by the COVID-19 pandemic. On the domestic front, magazine publisher Blue Ink Media, which published household magazine titles like Clio and Her World, shut down in April. Meanwhile, it was reported earlier this month that news giant Media Prima is undergoing another round of layoffs. AmBank Group Research believes Malaysia's jobless rate could hit 6.0% or even higher this year, after unemployment in April climbed to 5%, the highest since 1990 from 3.9% in March. AmBank said in a note today that this would be worse than during the 1997 Asian financial crisis and 2008 Great Recession, when unemployment rose to 3.2% and 3.7% respectively. Its chief economist and head of research, Dr. Anthony Das, said closures of operations for most businesses during the MCO have led to the slashing of jobs, making it even harder for job seekers. He said the upward pressure on the number of job losses remains, and much will depend on the ability of businesses to survive this crisis. Das added, the risk of companies going under remains high, and that while Putrajaya's wage subsidy program has provided financial relief to employers facing revenue constraints and saved 2.2 million jobs in the process, it is unclear how the labour market will be when the program ends. As for government incentives aimed at retaining employees and the gradual reactivation of the economy following the relaxing of movement restrictions in May and June, Das said these may not take the weight off instantly, considering the estimated 500,000 new entrants to the labour market this year. Homegrown ride-hailing and payments firm Grab will be cutting just under 5% of its headcount, or about 360 employees, as the COVID-19 pandemic wreaks havoc on its business. CEO and co-founder Anthony Tan wrote in a note to employees, "It is clear that the outbreak will likely result in a prolonged recession. Despite its efforts to tighten spending and cut costs over the past few months," he said Grab still has to become leaner in order to tackle the challenges of the post-pandemic economy. The job cuts aside, the company will also be sunsetting non-core projects, consolidating teams, and redeploying staff to focus on deliveries. SoftBank-backed Grab is Southeast Asia's most valuable startup, with a valuation of $14 billion, but demand for ride-hailing services has tumbled amid movement restrictions in the economies it operates in. However, Tan says the unicorn continues to be bullish on its business outlook and gave his assurance that with a new refreshed game plan, Grab will not have to go through another organisation-wide layoff in the foreseeable future. Former Chief Secretary to the government, Tan Sri Ali Hamsa, told the KL High Court today that neither he nor 1MDB's soft-spoken ex-president and CEO Arul Kandasamy pressured then-Auditor-General Tan Sri Ambrin Buang into altering the troubled fund's audit report during a meeting on February 24, 2016. Ali was testifying in the audit tampering trial of Arul and former Prime Minister Datuk Sri Najib Razak. During cross-examination, Ali said Najib was unhappy with a draft of the National Audit Department's report on 1MDB and that during the meeting, Arul had put forward a strong case for the amendments, including the omission of 2 conflicting financial statements for 1MDB for 2014 and mentions of Lotek Joe's involvement in the state fund. However, he made it clear that there was no pressure or intimidation involved in getting the department to doctor the report. During questioning, Ali also said it was unethical for Department Director Datuk Nur Salwani Mohamad to secretly record the said meeting. He said this was because the recording was made without his permission as chairman of the meeting. The audio recording was played to Ali in open court last November and became a key piece of evidence in the case. The Kuala Lumpur High Court has ordered former Felda chairman Tan Sri Muhammad Isa Samad to enter his defence for 9 out of 10 charges in relation to the purchase of the Merdeka Palace Hotel and Suites in Kuching by Felda subsidiary Felda Investment Corp or FIC. Justice Muhammad Nazla Muhammad Ghazali said there was credible evidence against Isa and ordered him to enter his defence on August 17th, 18th and 19th. Under the 9 charges, Isa is accused of receiving 3.09 million ringgit in return for helping to approve the hotel purchase by FIC. If convicted, he stands to face a maximum of 20 years in jail and a fine of up to 5 times the amount of bribes he received. Isa has chosen to testify from the witness stand. The court, however, tossed out the charge of criminal breach of trust, under which Isa was accused of having given the go-ahead for the hotel purchase without the approval of Felda's board, after finding that the prosecution had failed to prove prima facie.